Alright guys, what's up? It's Jack and welcome back to another video. So apparently you guys like stories. Like for instance, I read in the comments section that you guys really enjoyed the story of how my gamer tag of Justice X7 kind of came to be. So back when when this channel was about 6 months old or something like that, interesting fact right here that you guys might get a kick out of, I was actually doing my commentaries as you hear them now, the way you do now. I was actually recording them in my car. I'd take my laptop to my car and my Blue Snowball microphone, I'd get them together, and I would record in my car with the AC off and everything like that, sweating my ass and my balls off for God knows how long, and I'd sweat even more if I had to do a double or a triple take. And the reason for this was because I didn't know about Audio Editor, and nonetheless, I didn't really know how to use it at the time. And let's just say it was a pain, but for the first 6 months to the better part of a year or so, I was doing my commentaries inside my car. So I figured you guys would probably get a kick out of that. And during that time, I made a video back when the channel was a hell of a lot smaller, obviously, during the first 6 months, and where I was hardly getting any views. The thing is that I made the video talking about my gaming history, so I figured I'd do that now, because I know that there's going to be at least 30 of you that are going to watch this video, so I figured why the hell not, and it gives you guys a chance to get to know me a little bit more, because I know a lot of the people that come on stream, they kind of, to a certain extent, when we start talking about things, they can get to know me a little bit more, because they have access to talking to me, like for hours at a time or however long I stream. So, as opposed to just a 10-minute video for an X number of times per week that you guys get here. So, and most of the time I don't even talk about that. I don't talk about story time or high school stories of when I lost my virginity or the things like that. But I figured I'd start to make it a thing now. Not just because I want to change things up and see how you guys like it, but because you guys have already kind of given me feedback that you kind of enjoy it. So, again, as always, there's a limited amount of time, so let's get right to it. So, when I was 7 years old, believe it or not, my parents actually introduced me to the Super Nintendo, actually to the regular Nintendo Entertainment System. Back then, it was fairly new, and I don't know how they heard of it, but I guess word spreads. You know, back then there was no social media, no internet. So I guess it was the thing, and my mom introduced me to it. She came into my room, and remember, I was always I was a normal child. I was, you know, I was active, I was playing sports, I was socializing with kids, I loved recess time back in school or something like that. It's not like I was like 100% introverted. Not that there's anything wrong with that. As a matter of fact, I'm more introverted now than I was back then. But the thing is, I was completely normal. It's not like I was antisocial or anything. I just, but the thing is, when I was at home, sometimes when there was nothing to do, I'd get pretty bored or whatnot. So I guess my parents, one day, they just come in, and back then the Nintendo was for rent, and if you'd like it, you'd be able to buy it. So they rented it and they said, hey, play this thing, and if you like it, we'll buy it for you. And I guess it was probably for my birthday. They come back a few days later and they're like, do you like it? I'm like, hell yes. I mean, I didn't say hell yes, but I liked it. And it came with Mario and it came with Duck Hunt. And Duck Hunt was a fucking gem back in the day. That game was so addictive. I mean, back in the day, people thought Pac-Man and Galaga was addictive. No, Duck Hunt was addictive. And basically the way the cycle went was, since there was no internet, no social media or anything like that, whenever I'd go to a friend's house, and if they had something that I didn't have, like as soon as I found out that a friend had a Super Nintendo, like I went to his birthday party, and he got a Super Nintendo, and I'm like, what's this? I'm like, I didn't know there was a Super Nintendo. And then the next thing you know, for my birthday, when mine came up, I ended up getting it. And it got to the point to where, like, I would love this stuff so much that, like, I would do anything and everything to get what I wanted to get. Whether it was a new game, a new system, or whatever it was, whether it means working harder in school or whether it means like just behaving better. I mean, I was always well behaved, but the thing is, like, I would like be even more well behaved and I'd try to do better in school. I wasn't really that good at school because actually during those years up until about age 10, I was actually living the best life you can live as a kid, you know, very privileged, or you know. And then, basically, after my biological father died when I was 10, not my recent dad, who was my stepdad, who was actually the man who raised me, I didn't really have much of a relationship with my biological father. But basically, when he died when I was 10 years old, and I saw it happen right in front of me, too, by the way. When he died when I was 10, everything changed. He basically left me and my mom with nothing, and basically I went from being a very privileged kid to poverty, and at one point, you know, mom was struggling, and we went from the house, which wasn't fully paid off, so that went bye-bye, and one of the cars went bye-bye and all that kind of stuff, and mom basically had to sell whatever jewelry she had just to keep us floating a boat and so we can find an apartment. We went from a house to an apartment to an even smaller apartment and even to a trailer at one point, but that's later on during my life. But the thing is, despite the fact, mom still managed to work her ass off and basically make sure that I didn't feel the pain of being an underprivileged kid as best she could. And one of the ways she did this was obviously like video games was the thing that kind of kept that pain away, so to speak, or at least for the most part. Like, I did go through a lot of painful periods, but just like everybody has their story and every child goes through their painful periods here and there, you know, bullying and everything that comes with losing a parent. But the thing is that gaming made it seem a lot easier. So the Super Nintendo, the Sega Genesis, the Donkey Kongs, the Mortal Kombats, the Killer Instincts, the going to the arcade games with friends, spending the night with friends, or having sleepovers at my house and having my friends over, and then we go to Blockbuster, or they bring a game that I don't have or something like that. And we would try to beat that game by the weekend. By the time the weekend was over, and if I was lucky, sometimes my friend would be allowed to sleep over for 2 nights in a row instead of 1. And we would just, we would cook ourselves some unhealthy food, and we would eat and we would game. We'd go outside and play basketball. We would watch basketball games back when the Chicago Bulls were playing during the Michael Jordan era. So, I mean, fairly still, despite the fact that everything was going south really, really quick financially and everything in the family after Dad had died, and everything else was kind of crumbling around. Gaming really did seem to numb the pain. It was like, no matter what, it's like, hey, at least I got gaming. If I got bullied in school, it's like, hey, I can go home and I could just play video games and the pain would go away and I wouldn't even think about it. It wouldn't keep me up at night. I would escape with gaming. And quite frankly, till this day, I still kind of do that till this day. Like, I got nothing, like for instance, right now, I got nothing much going on in my life other than work, taking care of mom, and that's it. There's not really as much of a social life anymore due to life happening and adulting. And as you guys know, adulting, it's great that you get to make your own choices for those of you guys that are younger, but at the same time, there is a price to pay. And that price to pay is the responsibilities, financial stress, and things like that. But till this day, gaming is something that kind of helps. Now, obviously, there is a time now, especially now that I'm an adult and everything is in my hands, including everything that happens with mom, because she relies on me 100% for financial stability, and I do mean 100%. And it's a long story, and I'm not going to discuss why it's 100%, but trust me when I tell you, it's, yeah. But the thing is, since there's that going on, there are times where you have to put the game down and you have to focus on that first. But when business is taken care of, back in my childhood days, it was school. Business was school. So when that was taken care of and school was done, the homework was done, I would game my ass off, or I'd play basketball, or I would get together with friends or whatnot. But gaming and movies, specifically gaming, and back during the SNES Genesis era when all this shit was going down, was my favorite time. And basically, games like Donkey Kong, my friends introducing me to games and to consoles, Sonic the Hedgehog, Mortal Kombat, going to the arcades, all these different things. Like, that was the time. There was even a point in time where I was getting so good at Mortal Kombat 2 in the arcades, and they had plenty of them. There was a place called Aladdin's Castle over at the mall back then in the early 90s. And there were people that were grown-ass adults. Some of them were really good, but some of them were fairly average. But I played so much Mortal Kombat that I beat them so bad that those adults would curse me out. There was one time where I talked shit to somebody. I didn't say anything, but I basically said, how tough are you now? There's this big buff guy. And then he told, like, I was 10 years old, and he said, fuck you, bitch, to me, and I was 10 years old. I was like, wow, nobody ever talked to me like that, except for kids in school, but this was a grown-ass adult with big-ass muscles and, like, twice my height, and I was whooping his ass in Mortal Kombat, using a character that I wasn't even good at, which was Jax, by the way, in Mortal Kombat 2, and it was a good time. I guess you could say it was a precursor of what pub stomping today is for me. So basically, that is how the gaming, as well as a little bit of a life story for myself, so you guys can get to know me a little better. That's basically how gaming started, and it's become pretty much a part of my life since age 7. And it's pretty remarkable how, even from age 7 to now, how everything is kind of linked together, and how I still kind of utilize gaming to my advantage. I wouldn't say it's an addiction. I could stop doing it whenever the hell I want, and as a matter of fact, I have stopped doing it for weeks at a time sometimes if I wanted to, because I just wasn't feeling it. But the thing is, gaming has always been a part of my life, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon. I mean, I don't know what the future holds. Nobody can predict the future, but that's basically how it all started. So this was basically part 1. In part 2, I'm going to be going over, like, for instance, the PlayStation era, N64, Genesis. I'm basically going to continue in terms of past age 10, past age 11, to where things took off to another level. while giving you guys a little bit more of my life story to go along with it. But anyway, guys, that's all I got for this one. Let me know down in the comment section what you think. Can you guys relate to this? Can you not relate? Every generation, of course, is welcome to leave their comments and opinions down in the comment section. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, let me know. And if you didn't, let me know what I could do to make my videos better. I'll catch you guys on the next one.